The story opens with a weary traveller stumbling upon the secluded hotel, which stands as an anachronistic manor against a backdrop of swirling mists and gnarled trees. Its grandiose facade belies a subtle wrongness in its proportions, as if the building itself defies common reality. The lobby is a cavernous space of twisted columns and arches that loom overhead, the air heavy with the scent of decayed opulence. The traveller is greeted by an unnervingly pleasant host, whose eyes flicker with a cryptic knowledge and a hint of pity. As the traveller is led to their room, the corridors seem to shift subtly with each blink, the wallpaper a tapestry of shifting, indiscernible patterns. The sounds of the hotel are a symphony of whispers and creaks, suggesting hushed conversations and movements where there should be none. Upon entering the room, the traveller is struck by a view of the surrounding landscape that seems both impossibly alien yet eerily familiar, as if every element of the room is designed to disorient and ensnare the senses. The night promises no reprieve, with dreams infused with visions of the hotel's past guests, all caught in their own eternal moments of horror and realization. Their silent screams a warning of the inescapable fate that awaits. As the protagonist pushes through the heavy, ornate front doors of the hotel, a gust of stale air rushes to greet them, laden with the scent of old wood and whispers of bygone eras. The lobby is vast, the ceiling lost to shadows, with grand staircases winding up into the gloom. Despite the absence of visible staff, there's a palpable sense of being watched, the feeling of unseen eyes following every movement. The protagonist approaches the front desk, a relic from a time when such places were the heart of societal gatherings. Dust motes dance in the sparse rays of light piercing the darkness, revealing no attendant to welcome them. Yet an ornate bell sits at the center, its patina suggesting countless untold stories. With a hesitant hand they ring it, and the sound resonates clear and oddly melodic, as if summoning the hotel itself to life. From the corners of the room, shadows begin to coalesce, forming the shape of a figure that is both there and not. It's as if the darkness has a voice, and it greets the protagonist with a formal bow. "Welcome to the Eternal Guests Hotel," it intones, a voice like silk sliding over gravel. "Your room awaits, though you may find it different than expected." With a key of heavy brass handed over by the shadowy concierge, the protagonist is directed towards the elevator, a cage of wrought iron and flickering light. The mechanism groans in protest as it ascends, the numbers above the door clicking past with an unnerving randomness that defies the logic of floors. When the elevator comes to a shuddering halt, the doors open to reveal a hallway that seems to breathe, the walls pulsating ever so slightly. The protagonist's footsteps echo on the tile, the sound bending and warping as if the hotel is listening, memorizing the rhythm of a new heartbeat within its walls. In the cavernous spaces of the hotel, a pervasive silence clung to the walls like a physical entity. The protagonist ventured beyond the lobby, where the grandeur faded into long, narrow corridors that seemed to stretch indefinitely, their endpoints shrouded in an enigmatic fog. The carpet beneath their feet was a tapestry of bygone elegance, now worn and whispering secrets with every step. Somewhere in the distance, a clock chimed, a haunting, melodious echo that felt both alien and familiar, marking the passage of time in a place that seemed to have forgotten it entirely. They stumbled upon room after room, each door ajar, revealing scenes frozen in time. A tea set laid out for visitors who would never arrive, a piano with ivory keys poised to play a note that hung silent in the air, and bedrooms hosting specters of warmth. The beds meticulously made, yet eternally unoccupied. It was in these moments the protagonist felt the presence of the hotel's eternal guests, souls who had checked in but never departed, their stories etched into the very fabric of the room. With each room explored, the air grew colder, the shadows more pronounced. The protagonist felt a chill that seemed to seep from the walls themselves, a coldness that was more than the absence of heat, it was the absence of life. It dawned on them that this hotel was not simply a building, but a repository of unfulfilled destinies, each room a cell, each hallway a vein in a body that was both dead and alive. Amidst the oppressive atmosphere, a faint melody began to play, soft and sorrowful. It drew the protagonist towards its source, an old phonograph in a room adorned with pictures of smiling faces from a century past. The music was a lament, a sonic portrait of the hotel's soul, and as the protagonist listened, they felt the weight of 1,000 untold stories pressing down upon them. The search for an exit became secondary to the protagonist's new unspoken quest to understand the nature of this place. They became an involuntary archivist of the intangible, recording the silent pleas of the hotel's guests with each breath, a living testament to the hotel's melancholic immortality. As the protagonist delved deeper into the heart of the hotel, they knew that the secrets hidden within these walls were not meant to be kept, but to be shared with the living world beyond. As the night deepens, the protagonist, a seasoned paranormal investigator, sets up equipment in the grand ballroom, which is rumored to come alive with ghostly festivities at the witching hour. The room, untouched by time, holds a grand chandelier that flickers ominously, casting shadows that dance along the walls. The investigator's breath mists in the air, a telltale sign of the supernatural presence they have been seeking. The clock strikes midnight, and a slow, haunting waltz resonates through the halls from a piano unseen. The investigator's instruments spike with activity as ethereal figures materialize, dressed in the finery of centuries past, waltzing in silence. They pay no mind to the living, their expressions a mix of sorrow and yearning, as if searching for a resolution that never comes. Among the specters, a lady in a Victorian gown catches the protagonist's attention. Her eyes meet theirs, a silent plea evident. She gestures to a painting of the hotel in its early days, where among the painted guests the investigator spots her likeness. It becomes clear. These eternal guests are trapped in a moment of happiness that has turned into an endless purgatory. The protagonist realizes that these spirits do not wish to frighten, but to be remembered, to have their stories known. The investigator begins to document each apparition, their attire, their mannerisms, hoping to piece together the history that holds them here. With each name written, a spectre pauses, acknowledges, and fades, a step towards the peace they seek. As dawn approaches, the ballroom empties, the music fades, and the temperature normalizes. The investigator sits amidst a sea of notes and recordings, a night's work that has uncovered decades of hidden narratives. There's a profound sadness in the air, but also relief. Some of the eternal guests have found their vacancy, leaving behind the stories they entrusted to the living. As the witching hour approached its zenith, the atmosphere within the haunted hotel thickened with an anticipatory silence. The ethereal occupants of the hotel, the eternal guests who had been trapped in a limbo of sorrow and unrest, seemed to gather their energies for something momentous. In the grand ballroom, the air itself shimmered with spectral whispers, as if the very walls were murmuring secrets of 100 years. It was in this charged silence that the paranormal investigators witnessed an unprecedented event. The ghost of the Victorian lady, who had been their silent guide through this supernatural sojourn, raised her arms toward the vast, ornate ceiling. Her form, usually so faint, now glowed with a fierce inner light. The chandelier above responded, emitting a soft, pulsating glow, harmonizing with the ghostly radiance emanating from the spectral assembly. Then a slow, graceful waltz began, played by an unseen orchestra. The figures of the eternal guests started to revolve and sway in an elegant dance that transcended time. The investigators, rooted to the spot by the unearthly beauty of it all, could only watch as history unfolded before their eyes. Each ghostly couple danced their last dance, completing the unfinished business that had held them bound to the earthly realm. With each step and turn, the figures began to fade, their forms becoming less and less substantial. The Victorian lady, her eyes now soft with tears of gratitude, gave a final courtly nod to the living witnesses of their release. One by one, the ghosts of the hotel found peace, their forms dissolving into motes of light that drifted upward, congregating around the chandelier, which now blazed with a pure, welcoming light. As the last spirit vanished, the first light of dawn crept through the windows, casting the ballroom in a new serene light. The chandelier dimmed to its habitual inanimate glimmer. The hotel, once a beacon for the restless dead, had become a silent, empty vessel. The investigators packed away their equipment, their mission accomplished, leaving the hotel to its memories at last at peace with its past.